So Shri Krishna tells Arjun, he who has no ill will to any being, who is friendly and compassionate, free from egoism and self-sense, even-minded in pain and pleasure, and forgiving. The first quality that God said is he who has no ill will to any being. The second quality said is being friendly and having the feeling of friendliness. Maitri bhavanu pavitra jananu ava antarma vayakare. May the sacred stream of friendliness flow forever in my heart. One should be friendly. The third quality is being compassionate. The fourth is being free from self-sense. And the fifth is being free from egotism. The sixth is considering pain and pleasure to be the same and being even-minded in pain and pleasure. The seventh is forgiving, meaning one who has the quality of forgiving. A very nice description of the qualities is going on, and each of these qualities are worth looking at in detail. In all of these, there is a root feeling of love. Bhakti, devotion, is a deification of love. There are three levels of love. When love is degraded and downgraded, then it becomes a vasana, a sensual desire. Love is then in the middle, and when love advances and it becomes developed, then it becomes bhakti, devotion. Vasana's desires only have something to do with the body. Love is a subject of the mind, and bhakti, devotion, is a subject of the soul. A person who lives only in vasana's desires cannot be called a person. He is equal to an animal. This person only has an interest in vasana, sensual desires, and therefore only has an interest in the body. This is an animal instinct, and this is in everyone. Ahara nidra bayamaitu nancha samanenetak pashubiramanam. Even a crow has two legs, even a crow sleeps, even a crow eats, and even a crow reproduces. Therefore, it is not right to say that someone who has 2 feet is a human being. Love is a topic of the mind, and only the human being can love whoever the mind is fixed on. I said from the beginning that true love is a very big step because bhaja, the stem for the word bhakti, means to love. One needs a lot of strength and power for this, and only human beings can love. And bhakti, devotion, is a relationship of the soul and is a quality of godliness. These 3 steps are worth paying attention to and can be demonstrated if you draw a table underneath the verse. So in a table have 3 columns. The first column, attitude. Second column, relates to. And third column, level of the person. So in the first column, the first row, in attitude, put vasana, which is sensual desire. And in the column of relates to, put body. And level of the person, animal. Then the next row, in the attitude, put prem, love. In relates to, put mind. And level of the person, human being. And then, on the bottom line, bhakti, devotion, in attitude, relates to the soul. And level of the person, a god. So, we've got attitude, relates to level of the person. Vasana, relates to the body, and is a level of an animal. Prem, love, relates to the mind, and is a level of the human being. Bhakti, devotion, is a level, relates to the soul, and is a level of God, a dev. When we speak about bhakti, devotion, then we have to bring in so many godly qualities. There should be love, and the level of love is the middle level. Love can be destroying, or love can be transformed. Love is on the bridge. Either you go to one bank of the river or the other. You cannot always remain in love. Love is a very excited state. You cannot build a house on a bridge. You can go for a walk on a bridge for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 30 minutes to look at the flow of the river. You can do all of this, but you cannot build your house on the bridge. When the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 30 minutes finish, then either you have to go to one bank on the right-hand side or the bank on the left-hand side. You cannot remain on the bridge. In the same way, love is the bridge. It's a circumstance that is filled with tautness. A human being in love can be drowned in feelings for love for a little while, and this is fine, but either it becomes destroying and falls into a vasana, a sensual desire, in which case the person gets peace, or it becomes advancing and enters into the field of bhakti, devotion, in which case the person also gets peace. If you look at animals, then you see that they're very peaceful and they do not have a lot of difficulties. There is no peace in love. There's a very big German philosopher by the name of Descartes who said that one who loves suffers. Whoever loves always has to tolerate things. This state is always going to stay. It is a very edgy state, and that is why the majority of people experience peace after love destroys them. They go into the field of vasana, desire, and it brings them peace. After that, there is not many problems. But very few people, the chosen few ones, and the special few ones, think that no, I do not want to live by degrading love. I want to develop and advance love, and that is why I will join with the Supreme Soul. By degrading love, a human being becomes one form with another body, but when love is advanced, then a human being becomes one form with the Supreme Soul. We have to choose whether we wish to become one with another body, or whether we wish to become one with the Supreme Truth. Love is the raw material. Therefore, in these qualities that we're about to understand, we have to constantly look at one thing, that bhakti, devotion, is the development of love. Thinkers give us 4 stages in love. The first is attraction. If one does not have attraction towards another, then love is a very distant topic. Attraction gives human beings happiness. If you have attraction towards someone, then you'll get happiness. You'll like it. The second stage that comes is feelings and emotions. If one has attraction and the development still continues, then feelings and emotions are born. This results in joy. Feelings and emotions give bliss. The third stage that comes is surrender. Therefore, for us, there is attraction. Second are feelings and emotions. And third, there is surrender. But there is a helplessness in the word surrender. There is no helplessness in surrender. It is just a feeling of being theirs. In surrender, there is the feeling and emotion that what can I leave for him or her? This thing is extremely necessary in love. It is not necessary what the other person has given to you, but it's important what you have given to them and what you have left for them. The feeling of surrender is the dividing line between love and delusion. Delusion asks and love gives. Delusion pulls and love distributes. Therefore, a person who is lying in delusion will always think about, what did they give me? Did they give me a card on my birthday? Did they send me a box of sweets on Diwali? Wherever there is delusion, then the person will always be counting. Delusion does a lot of keeping accounts. On the other hand, love never asks. Love never pulls. Love only thinks that I have love towards this person. What did I give to that person? This is the feeling of surrender. Attraction came first, and second were feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions are possible in delusion, and delusion is not possible without feelings and emotions. But beyond feelings and emotions, there comes a third state of the feeling of surrender. And when surrender comes, then love is achieved. Love is the fourth state. The lemons become ripe and the plate is ready. Surrender is a very difficult thing. In relations, a person does not learn to let go quickly. But surrender is a state where you get bliss from letting go. This is love. This is ecstasy. You experience bliss in every direction. This is love. And in love, the human being has complete acceptance. Plato says that love is a pursuit of the whole. With all thy faults, I accept thee. One accepts and loves the other, however he or she is. Love can never be partial. Love is always complete. Delusion is partial. If one likes the appearance of another, but one does not like their greedy nature, then this becomes delusion. But love is totally complete. Love is the pursuit of the whole. The first quality that the Supreme Soul is talking about is having no ill will towards any being. A devotee is always free from ill will towards any creature. Who can we have ill will towards? It is a very necessary thing not to have ill will towards any being. Great saints explain this through a very beautiful example. Love is to get married. If there are two youths in the same age at university, they form a mutual attraction towards each other, then feelings and emotions are born. Then surrender is also born and they love each other. They both begin to think about getting married. The girl goes and tells the boy that she wishes to marry him. The boy is understanding and tells her that it's absolutely correct that you wish to marry me, but now because we are together in university, every evening we go and sit in a park, and this is a different thing. Have you seen my family? Have you seen my house? Come to my house. When he says that in my house there is my elderly father, my mother, my grandmother, 4 brothers, 2 sisters, one of which is still to be married, and one of my 4 brothers is mad. All of this is there. I work hard for the whole house, I earn money, and I run the house, but the mad brother does not listen to me. He does not accept what I say, and he does not understand me. You will have to look after all of these. Will you be able to do this? Do not think that after we get married, that we will just throw away the anchor and have gone out from the world. It is not like that. I have a very big family, and you will have to look after all of them. If the girl is understanding, and she has true love, then she will say, yes, I will look after all of them. I will look after your parents, I will serve your grandmother, I will look after your brothers and sisters, and I will look after also your mad brother. I will look after all of them. In the same way, when the devotee is going to become one form with the Supreme Soul, and is sitting with the Supreme Soul during the high moments of bhakti devotion, the devotee tells the Supreme Soul that, Lord, I wish to become one form with you. When the devotee says this to God, then God also says to the devotee, look, until now, both of us were alone in bhakti devotion. It was just you and me. But now, when you're asking to become one form with me, I have a very big family that is the world. This is all in my family, and there are many different types of people in this world. Some people are small, some people are big, and some people are even mad. I run this whole world, and yet they still do not believe in me. They say that there is no God and sit there. They just say that there is no such thing as God. This is what they say. If you get disturbed by all of these, then it will not work. Tell me, do you accept this? If this is a true devotee of the Supreme Soul, then he will say, yes, Lord, I will have no ill will towards any being. Lord, I will of course love the people who listen to me, but I will also love those who do not listen to me, Lord. I will of course accept those who are walking on your path and who are like-minded because I will like them. But Lord, I will also accept those who are opposing you. The reason for this is that, Lord, you accept them. You are letting them live, and Lord, this means that you have not left them. The day when you leave them, then that day they are not even going to last. But so long as they are there, Lord, it is proof that you do not leave them. And Lord, if you do not leave someone, then how can I leave them? One should not have ill will towards any being. That is what one should do. Why does ill will towards others come to human beings? There are 2 or 3 main reasons for this. The very first is that when a feeling of ownership comes, then ill will towards others is born. When one thinks that all of this is mine, I have so much, then ill will is born. A devotee thinks that I am not the owner of the world, I am a servant of the world. Therefore, there is no reason for me to have ill will. The second reason for which ill will is born is that the person thinks that the other is ruining things for me. The devotee thinks that the other cannot ruin anything for me. Sukhasya dukhasya nakapodidata parodidati tiku bhuti resha aham karomiti vruta vimana swakarma sutra gahita hirloke. Nobody can make me happy or sad. My pains are as a result of the desires I had and the karmas that I performed in my previous births. How can the other person give me happiness? The other person does not even give me sadness. The other person cannot ruin anything of mine. This is because when the person thinks that the other is doing this, then ill will comes to the other's mind. This is not even possible. The devotee understands that all the consequences that are coming to me are as a result of the actions I have performed. If I have performed satkarma, divine acts, then I will get the punya, the opposite of sins, in a form of happiness. And if I have ever made mistakes in life, then sorrows will come to me. But I am facing the consequences of my own, and there is no reason for me to give the blame to another. Therefore, ill will does not remain. The third reason for ill will is a feeling that the other person is bad. The the devotee thinks that the other is not bad. And if it feels as if the other is bad, then the fault in this is mine because I did not go and improve him. This is what a devotee thinks. A devotee will never have ill will towards any being. If there is a mother, then does the mother have ill will towards a child? No. When there is a feeling that the other is ours, then ill will does not reside there. Even if one's own person is bad, then he still seems good. If there is a young child that is playing in the mud and has his whole body covered with mud, has dust all over him, his hair's in a mess, lines coming out of his nose, and so on, then if the neighbor sees this, then he will think, just look at her. She's not even looking after a child. She's not even telling her child off and not even looking after a child. The neighbor raises his nose and walks away, but when the mother sees a child, then will the mother raise her nose? No. What the mother does is that she says that it is my own child, no matter if it is covered with dirt and dust, no matter if its hair is in a mess, and no matter if lines are coming out of its nose, it is my child. The mother immediately brushes the dirt off the child, picks up the child and makes the child clean. While the child remains like that, the mother will think that why did I not pay attention to my child? It is because I was engrossed in my work that my child became like this. The mother does not have ill will towards her child. Even if the child has become unclean, then the mother will think that I did not look after my child. What I mean to say is that there may be ill will in this life, and great saints even go to say that so that devotees can have sweet arguments and fights with God. For example, God, you're saying that to have no ill will towards any being, but we will not do that. We will not stop having ill will. There will always be ill will in us. God says, you're remarkable. I just said in the 100th class of the Gita that you should not have ill will towards any being, and you, O devotee, are saying that you should have ill will? Devotee says, yes, Lord, I will have ill will. God says, why do you say you have ill will? The devotee says, God, who created this ill will? I have not created this feeling of ill will, Lord. You have created it, Lord. And it is my clear belief that whatever you create right. Lord, you cannot create anything wrong. You have created this feeling of ill will for a good reason. God says, devotee, what are you talking about? Can the feeling of ill will ever be created for a good reason? Devotee says, yes, Lord. God says, how? Devotee says, Lord, I will have ill will, but ill will towards the fault, and not ill will towards a person with those faults. I will have ill will towards the wrong things, but not ill will towards a person in which ill will is there. There can be ill will towards a disease, but not towards the person with the disease. When a husband is sitting there ill, then the wife has a lot of wishes that the disease goes away very quickly. If the husband is ill, then the wife has the wish that the illness goes away quickly, so that she places blocks of ice there, rubs his head, gives him medicine and does all of this. Why does the wife make all of these efforts? It is so that the husband's illness goes away as soon as possible. The more ill will that the wife has towards the illness, then the more efforts she will make to make the illness go away. But does this mean that she has ill will towards a person to whom the illness has come? No. The wife says that this illness has come to you, so you should go and sleep in another room. I will stay here. This is not ill will towards a person to whom the illness has come. There is only ill will towards the illness. There is ill will towards the disease and not the person with the disease. In fact, there should be sympathy for the person with the disease. In the same way, the way the devotee looks at the world is that the devotee has ill will towards the faults and not the person with the faults. If a person has a vice, then it is an ill will towards the vice and not the person with the vice. There is never an ill will towards the person. This is because when the person was born, he did not come with the ill vice in his mouth. No, he has held on to this rubbish from behind, and the rubbish he has held on to from behind has become released. And one should make efforts in order to release these. Therefore, one should have ill will towards a vice and not the person with the vice. This is the perspective with which the devotee looks at the world. And there is also a state of not having any ill will because one has bundles and bundles of love towards a person. And we get an endless amount of examples of such devotees. Socrates was free from ill will, and this person had no ill will towards any being. Those who have read about Socrates' life will know about his wife Xanthippe. Who's heard of her? Xanthippe. She was a woman who had a habit of creating fights and was very volatile. She would cry all the time. Socrates was completely peaceful and his wife was so argumentative, yet Socrates would never have ill will towards his wife. He would never have anger towards his wife, and he would always be merry, and that is it. She would jump up and down, and yet Socrates would never be like this. There was an event where Socrates was sitting there talking to his disciples about metaphysics in the house at lunchtime. 12 p.m. went, 1 p.m. went, and it became time for lunch. Socrates was sitting with his back to the kitchen door, and his pupils were sitting opposite him, so his pupils could always see what was happening in the house, whereas Socrates could not see it. There was nobody else at home apart from Socrates. Apart from Socrates and Xanthippe. Xanthippe would come around over and over again to tell them that their food was ready. She was waiting for hours, and it was time for the lunch, and Xanthippe started banging on the utensils to let them know. Socrates was so engrossed in his discussions that he paid no attention to what was going on. His pupils saw that there was an unsteady relationship between the husband and the wife. The pupils began telling Socrates that his wife was calling him to eat. Socrates said that he would finish the discourse and then they would go to eat. He would then continue talking. So Xanthippe got annoyed and started banging the cups and plates harder and harder to see whether he would notice. Socrates' pupils told him what was happening, and Socrates just laughed and told him not to worry because it was a thunderstorm of the clouds outside that was making a noise due to the season. Xanthippe heard what Socrates says while she was banging the utensils and was calling them for 2 hours. Her mind turned around and she first ate herself, then she washed the utensils and poured the dirty water from the washing all over Socrates. The pure pupils were shocked at what happened. So, you know what Socrates said? He said, "Look, you're not worried too much because after there's a thunderstorm, then the rain follows straight after." He had no ill will towards anyone. Just think about how high level this must be. And not just Socrates, but in the Srimad Bhagavad, there are so many devotees. If you look at it from the beginning, in the first canto, there's Draupadi. You will see this one common factor in each and every devotee. They have no ill will towards anyone. Just look at Draupadi. Ashwadama murdered her 9 young sons. Shri Krishna and Arjun went and captured Ashwadama, put him back tied up with a rope. They presented him in front of Draupadi and told her that this is the murderer of your 9 children. Just tell us and we will punish him accordingly. Just one sentence could have come out of Draupadi's mouth and Ashwadama's head would have been separated from the rest of his body. It was such a state, and there, what this Draupadi said, Muchata Mesha, let him go. Everyone said, let him go? Draupadi gave 6 reasons, and I'm not going into them detail now, but the human being who killed her 9 young sons was standing in front of her, and yet she forgave him. She had no ill will. Going further, there was Dhruv. Not me, but Dhruv from the Srimad Bhagavad. These stories are very famous, and that's why I'm saying them in short. There was a child of 5 years who went to sit in his father's lap, but his stepmother, Suruchi, opposed this and stopped it happening. Dhruv went to perform austerities, and the Supreme Soul became pleased. After getting a vision of the Lord and attaining a boon from the Lord, when Dhruv went back to the town, then he went back to his palace. First of all, he bowed down to his father, and second of all, he bowed down to his stepmother, Suruchi. He told Suruchi that, "Mother, it is because you gave me the inspiration that I was able to have a vision of God." Otherwise, he could have said that, "Do you remember what you were saying to me 6 months ago?" Would we refrain from saying this at that moment? Dhruv told her that she gave him the inspiration. He had no ill will. I can give you so many examples of devotees who have no ill will. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, there is Prahlad. When Lord Narsi became manifest to kill the same father of Prahlad who tortured Prahlad throughout his life, and then told Prahlad, "Son, ask for a boon," then Prahlad did not ask for anything for himself, and when God made a lot of insistence for him to ask for something, then Prahlad said, "Please give my father liberation so that he becomes liberated from the karmas of his sins." Prahlad asked of his father and not for his own liberation. This is called not having ill will towards any being. Then there was Ambarish. If we do not remember Ambarish on a holy day of Ekadashi, we must remember him. Ekadashi is the 11th day of the lunar fortnight. Ambarish made a vow of Ekadashi, and Dvadashi, the day after Ekadashi, was about to come, and a sage Durvasha came. You all know the story. Ambarish completed his vow by drinking holy water, and a sage Durvasha thought that he has given me an invitation to eat, and yet he has broken his fast before offering me food. The sage Durvasha got angry and released the demoness Kritiya towards Ambarish. But when the Supreme Soul realized that this was happening to his devotee, then the Sudarshan Chakra, the divine discus, burnt Kritiya and turned towards Durvasha. Durvasaji went everywhere and nobody could protect him. Ultimately, he went to Lord Narayan and asked the Lord to stop his Sudarshan Chakra, the divine discus. Lord Narayan said, "I'll only stop it if my devotee says so, otherwise it will not stop." And when the sage Durvasha came back to Ambarish, then Ambarish said that the Sudarshan Chakra should be calm. This is called having no ill will. And then, until a whole year passed, Ambarish did not even take a grain of food. Then he fed Durvashaji and then ate himself. What I mean to say is there are countless devotees. In every one of them, you see this one quality of being free from ill will towards any being. This is the root feeling of devotees. In the Van Parv of the Mahabharata, a very beautiful verse comes. If one person does something wrong, then we do something wrong to them. This is not the thinking of sages. Napape pratiprashit sadhu revasha bhavet. If one person does something wrong, then we do something wrong in return to them. This is not the thinking of sages. If somebody does something wrong to us, then we do not do something wrong to them. If we do something wrong to them, this is not the characteristic of a devotee. It can be the characteristic of the material world that if someone does something wrong to you and you do something wrong to them, but a devotee says that napape pratipashat sadhu revasha bhavet. If one person does something wrong, then we do something wrong to them. This is not the thinking of a sadhu, a sage. If one person has done something wrong, then he will face the consequences of what he has done. This means that I do not wish to do something wrong in return, as it will create bondages to karmas. This is the perspective of a devotee. You see devotees such like this all over the world. There was an Arabic devotee by the name of Rabia. Great personalities and thinkers consider her to be the Mira of Turkestan. Rabia was a devotee of a very high level. One time Rabia was asked that, "Rabia, do you have love towards the Supreme Soul?" Rabia said, "Yes, I do." The second question was asked, "Do you have ill will towards fiends?" Rabia said, "No, I do not have ill will." In the sect that she was a part of, these two things go hand in hand, and this sect said that you have to have love towards God and also ill will towards fiends. Only then are you truly religious. Rabia said, "Yes, I have love towards God," in relation to the first thing, but in relation to the second thing, she said that I have no ill will towards fiends. People asked her why she was saying this, that she had no ill will towards fiends, and then saying that she has love towards God. They asked her how she could have no ill will towards fiends. Rabia said that I do not have any ill will towards fiends, and she gave the reason for this, that in my heart that is filled with love with the Supreme Soul, there is no space to have ill will towards fiends. My heart is so completely filled with love towards the Supreme Soul that where can I possibly put ill will towards these fiends in? There will be no place for it. And Rabia says another thing, that I have no time to have ill will towards fiends, because all my time is constantly spent in being completely engrossed in God. Therefore she had no space in her heart for ill will, and she had no time for it. This is called a devotee who has no ill will towards any being. A consequence of having ill will is turbulence, and a consequence of turbulence is the birth of sorrows. In our lives, the reason why there is constant turbulence is because we have ill will. The reason why we have ill will is because we're constantly making comparisons. And when envy arises from comparisons, ill will is born from envy. People have the attitude that I have so-and-so and the other has so-and-so. One should leave ill will. The state of the devotee is to such an extent that the devotee does not even have ill will towards one who maligns them. There are two types of people who malign others. The first are those who create obstacles in us getting something that's dear to us, or in the fulfillment of our wishes, if we like something and we make efforts in order to attain that thing, then these people create obstacles. This may give rise to ill will towards these people. The second type of people are those who keep uniting us with things that are bad for us or things that we do not want. They become enemies for us. A devotee never has ill will towards either of these two types of people. In the Uttarkand of the Sri Ramcharitmanas, there is a very beautiful chopai, which is a verse of 4 lines that Nij Prabhu Maya Dekh Nahi Jagat, Ke Nisana Karo Virod, Siaram Me Sab Jagajani, Karo Pranama Chori Chukpani. I see the Lord in everything in the world, and therefore I do not oppose the world. Therefore, see Siaram in everything in the world, I offer obedience to the miscreants and also to the doers of good. The whole perspective of the devotee has changed. Therefore, now who will one have ill will towards? At this level, God says that a devotee should not have ill will towards any being. The second quality said by Shri Krishna in this verse is friendliness. This is the feeling of friendliness. Having ill will is also born from love, but it is a state of having no feeling because it is a state of having no ill will. But if one has no ill will, then this does not mean that one will also have love. One can also be indifferent towards others. In this case, the person will have no ill will, and at the same time, he will also have no love. If this is the case, then there will be no fun. Whenever I explain this, then I remember a true event from the life of Guruji. It was an event that took place in Mumbai. There was a very big industrial family. The son was married to the daughter of an equally big industrial family. Guruji was there at the wedding, and both of the families had a lot of feelings towards Guruji. After the wedding took place, 8 to 10 months must have passed, and the mother of the son came to listen to a discourse of Guruji. The discourse was finished and the Aarti worship took place. Then when everyone came to meet Guruji at the end, she also came to meet Guruji. As soon as Guruji saw her, he just asked her how she was and how her son, her daughter-in-law and everybody in the house were. A lot of tears came out of that woman's eyes. Guruji thought that he had asked the question that he shouldn't have asked without knowing. She told him that she wanted to meet him later. Guruji said not to wait till later and that she should come now. After the discourse finished, she came inside and Guruji asked her, what has happened? She explained what had happened to Guruji. Guruji asked her if everything was okay. She said, in one way everything is okay, but there is a difficulty. Guruji asked her what the difficulty was. She told him that the daughter-in-law to whom she had married a son, she had come with a lot of possessions from her family, is very wealthy and is happy in every sense. But out of the things that she has brought, there are 2 things that are bothering us a lot. Guruji asked her what the 2 things that her daughter had brought. She told him that firstly, she had brought her maidservant from a family's house, and secondly, she has brought her dog from the house. And in the last year since the wedding, these 2 things are causing so many problems in the family. Guruji asked her what happened and how her servant and her dog can affect her. Guruji asked her what she was doing and whether she was starting fights, causing problems in the family, saying the wrong things in the family, or whether there was a difference in opinions. She told him, no, it's nothing like that. She's not fighting, she's not saying the wrong things, nor doing anything, but she does not even meet me with love. Since she has come, she has just been sitting in her own room. My house is so nice that all the people in the family sit together to have breakfast at 7 a.m. in the morning and talk to each other while drinking tea and having snacks. Even if it's just for 15 minutes, it's so nice that we all sit together. But this girl does not even come. We wait for 10 to 15 minutes that she might come, and a maidservant comes from a room asking for tea and breakfast for this girl and takes the tray inside while this girl has breakfast and drinks tea in her room, and we have it all in the table in a big room. At lunchtime, we're all like sitting together, and it is a rule of ours that we all sit down together to eat lunch, but she does not even come to sit and have lunch with us. Her maidservant just takes a plate and goes inside the room saying that the girl has requested for a breakfast or a lunch to be brought in the room. And what does she do inside her room? Nothing. Either she bathes her dog, shampoos her dog, takes her dog for a walk, does this and that. This is all she does. She does not do anything else. She never even comes to eat with us. As mother-in-law and daughter, we have never sat together for more than half an hour in the last year. We haven't even spoken. She does not even start arguments and does not say anything wrong, but she just sits in a room. What can I do about this? This can also happen in the world. Then maybe a person who does not have ill will towards any being and does not start arguments, but also he does not have love. If this is the case, even then there will be tensions in the house. That is why God says that when you marry me and become one form with me, then only having no ill will towards any being will not work. At the same time, you will have to be friendly. Therefore, with this having no ill will being, God immediately joins something else with it, and that is that you will have to keep the feeling of friendliness. Therefore, in having no ill will towards any being, there is a chance of having a negative attitude, but in friendliness, there is acceptance of positive qualities. When both of these two meet, then there is complete bhakti, devotion. In the Patanjali Yog Darshan, there are 4 ways shown in order to purify your thoughts. All 4 of these things are very beautiful. The formula is such that Maitri Karuna Mudi Petika Sham Sukha Dukha Punya Apuna Vishayanam Bhavanatasas Chitta Prasadanam. By cultivating the attitude of friendliness towards the happy, compassion for the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and disregard towards the wicked, our thoughts remain delighted and pure. Lord Patanjali explains the 4 attitudes that are there in human beings. They have the feelings of friendliness, compassion, rejoicing, and indifference. But who do we have these feelings towards? We have these 4 attitudes towards the 4 subjects of happiness, sadness, punya, the opposite of sins, and sins. We should have a feeling of friendliness towards those who are happy. Then we should have compassion towards those who are unhappy in life. We need the attitude of delight when we see punya, good deeds. When we see a person who is full of punya, which are the opposite of sins, a saint, a wise person, or a person who is performing actions that are good actions, then we should have the attitude of delight towards them. After meeting the knowledgeable person, the wise person, the saint, or the great personality, there should be delight in our minds. When we stay with them, then there should be a feeling of delight in us. We should have delight towards people who are full of punya, and we should have disregard towards sinners. We should ignore sinners. If they can change, then they should change, but if we cannot change them, then we should ignore them. There is a saying in English that if you cannot win, then join them. But this will not work with sinners. Many people say that if you cannot win, then join them. No. If you cannot change a sinner, then it's well and good. If you can change a sinner, then it's well and good. But if you cannot change them, then ignore it. At least do not join them. You should have disregard for sinners. If one has these feelings of friendliness towards the happy, compassion towards the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and disregard for sinners, then one's thoughts will remain delighted and pure. Think about what we have in our lives. When someone is happy, then we feel something burning in us. If someone is happy, then we have the egotism that you have nothing and I have this and that. The reason why there is so much rubbish in our thoughts is that we do not behave in the way that our scriptures explain to us. We disregard those who are virtuous. If we meet a saint, a wise person, a great personality, or a knowledgeable person, then we ignore them, thinking that fine, he's a saint and therefore he would do this. Why do you not have a feeling of delight in seeing this? We ignore other saints and we ignore other wise people. If a wise person or a great personality comes to us and tells us that we should do something in a certain way, then we ignore it. People say that you have to sit in the Vyaspeeth, which is a place where the speaker of holy discourses sits, and it's very easy for you, but look at it from our perspectives. Therefore, what we do is that we ignore them. Our scriptures say to ignore sinners, but we ignore virtuous people. And that is why there is turbulence in life. We should be in communion with virtuous people as much as possible, and we should attain delight in being with them. We should have friendliness towards happy people, compassion towards unhappy people, delight towards virtuous people, and disregard towards sinners. When this comes, then our thoughts become pure. Lord Patanjali says 4 things in his formula, and Sri Krishna reduced them into 2 things. We should be friendly towards those who are happy and who are virtuous, and for those who are unhappy or who are sinners, there are 2 feelings that we should have, which is firstly having no ill will, and secondly having compassion. We should have compassion towards those who are sinners, and also compassion towards those who are unhappy. We will see how this comes later, but first we must have an attitude of friendliness towards the happy or the virtuous. This thing may be a little difficult in everyday life, but we should do it. This is friendliness. Look how God shows having no ill will and also having a feeling of friendliness. I said, while speaking about ill will, that one should have ill will towards the faults and not towards the person with the faults. Sri Ramchandraji fought the Ramayan war and killed Ravan at the end. The very same Ravan who had taken Sita ji away and because of whom Sri Ramchandraji felt so much suffering and so much difficulties, when this same Ravan died at the end, the question arose as to who would give him his cremation ceremony. In the entire lineage of the 10-headed, only one person was saved and everybody else had died. Only Vibhishan was saved. He was Ravan's younger brother. All of Ravan's sons were killed, including Indrajit and everybody. There was only Vibhishan left, and he had the right as a younger brother to perform the cremation ceremony when there was nobody else there. Vibhishan refused to do this, and Vibhishan got very angry. He said, "I will not perform Ravan's cremation ceremony. No matter if he was my elder brother, I will not do it. Lord, he gave you so much suffering. He gave you so many difficulties. He took away Sita ji, who is the equivalent of my mother, and he insulted her. Ravan was an extremely wicked person. I will not perform this cremation ceremony." At that time, Sri Ramchandraji said, "Vibhishan, while Ravan was living, we resented him because of his bad qualities, but now that he has died, now we cannot resent him. If you don't perform this cremation ceremony, then I will do it." And Sri Ramchandraji sent Lakshmanji and said that, "Lakshman, see to this that Vibhishan performs the cremation ceremony." What I mean to say that how much of a greatness can you call this? The majority of people do not let go of these things quickly. If I'm not forgetting, then Voltaire, or another French thinker who was a satirist, described this human nature, human attitude in a very nice way. He had a competitor throughout his whole life who was another writer, and this writer died. When any famous writer dies, then through the newspapers, news of this reaches the other writers in order to take the opinions, in order to form an obituary, and to find out what they have to say about the other person and what feelings they had towards that person. It also reached Voltaire, and he was told that this person has died, and you're both together given service to literature. You may have been competitors of each other and rivals, but now that he has died, would you like to say a few words about him? Voltaire said, yes. Yes, he was a great patriot, a humanitarian, a loyal friend. The journalist began writing. He was a great patriot, a humanitarian, a loyal friend. Voltaire then continued saying that, provided of course he really is dead. What I mean to say is that it's very difficult to say good things about another human being. Let that go. One should be friendly towards other people, and one should have the feeling of friendliness. Third, Sri Krishna says to have compassion. A devotee must have this quality. A devotee must be compassionate. Look here. A lot of people misunderstand this. God has not said pity. God has not said pity. God has said compassion. Commentators, I remember the last example, commentators say very nicely that pity is different and compassion is different. Pity is a very primitive state, whereas compassion is an advanced state and a developed state. First of all, we can say in simple language that pity, without an expectation, without any motive, and without any selfish motive, is compassion. Pity is stagnant, whereas compassion runs. Pity is passive, whereas compassion is active. Pity goes away after giving, and compassion never goes away, and compassion remains tied forever. When intimacy comes into pity, and together with that activity comes into it, then the feeling of compassion is born. Pity plus intimacy plus activity is equal to compassion. This is compassion. In compassion, there is a feeling of wanting to do something. Pity is an act of the ego, whereas compassion manifests only when egotism goes away completely in its totality. While the ego is there, then compassion can never get born. Pity is there to show someone, whereas compassion is not there to show anyone. If I wish to show you by way of example, then thinkers give a very nice example. Pity and compassion are both very nice flowers, but compassion is a flower that has grown in a garden, whereas pity is a flower that has been placed in a flower vase. The flower that is placed in a flower vase is there for somebody else and is there to show somebody else, whereas the flower that blooms in the garden is not there for somebody else, and it blooms because it has bliss in just blooming. If somebody comes to appreciate the beauty of a flower that has grown in the garden, then it is fine, but if someone does not do it, then it does not make much of a difference to the flower that has grown in the garden, but it does make a lot of difference to the flower in the flower vase if somebody does not appreciate it. At least it makes a lot of difference to the person who sent the flower in the vase if somebody doesn't appreciate it. If guests are about to come to the house and you have made a very nice flower arrangements and placed it in there, then you put it exactly at the center of the table. And if 50 people come to your house and not one person at these 50 appreciate the flower arrangement at the middle of the table, then the host comes and begins adjusting the flower arrangement. If there is someone notice and they say, if there is juice there, then they say, put the juice there and put the flower arrangement there. The other person replies that, I have seen your flower arrangement. And despite this, nobody sees it. Then at the time of the guest departing and from the house, the host goes to ask the guest, how did you find the flower arrangement? This is because it craves appreciation. Such a person thinks that, please say something, you can't just ignore it. It took me half an hour to arrange it and go to the market to bring it, and nobody is even paying attention to it. This is pity, and this is what is there in pity. Whenever a person has pity, then he or she expects for some return. It could be a simple appreciation, but it is a return. In compassion, there is no expectation for something in return. The flower has bloomed, and if somebody comes and takes its smell, then they can come and take its smell. And if somebody does not take its smell, then it does not matter. A person with pity wishes that there be unhappy people in the world. A person with pity subconsciously wishes for a lot of things, such as there should be poor people in the world and that there should be unhappy people in the world. This is because if all the poor people and all the unhappy people in the world go away, then who can they have pity on? On the other hand, a compassionate person wishes that there should be nobody in this world who is unhappy and that there is nobody in this world who is poor. In the mixture of compassion, pity is always an ingredient, but compassion is when the person has gone beyond pity. There is a lot of compassion in devotees. First of all, a devotee has a lot of compassion towards himself. He thinks that God has given me such a nice human body, such a beautiful mind, and such a good intellect, but what have I done in my life? Compassion is born inside, and a person thinks that if I give a £10 note in the hands of my son in the morning, and then in the evening I ask him about the accounts, and what he did with the £10 note I gave him for his pocket expenses, if I asked him for the accounts when I just gave him a £10 note, and if the child told me that out of the £10 note he ate a chocolate worth £2, spent £1 on the bus, went some on the journey and did not explain the rest, then I'll get sad that maybe the child used the pounds in the wrong place. I'll get worried about this. If I'm thinking so much about just a £10 note, then my ultimate Father, the Supreme Lord, has given me such a priceless life, and when I reach him, then will he not ask me for accounts? And when he asks for the accounts, and he is not giving the accounts properly, then what will I be able to tell him? How upset will my father get? I got upset when my own son was describing how he spent his money, so how upset will my ultimate Father get when I will describe what I have done with my life? He put so much trust in me, and he gave me so much. How sad will he get? The devotee first has compassion for himself. He feels that he has wasted his entire life. This is how he feels, and when he feels like this, he does not sit there having negative thoughts. What does he do? He begins making efforts in order to change his life. This is because I said at the beginning that compassion is not just about sitting down. Compassion has activity in it. One begins changing himself, and the moment when he has begun changing himself, and he begins to get the beautiful consequence of this, and the second compassion of the devotee begins, that he has compassion for other people and compassion for society. This is because he himself has passed through that route and thinks that how are people living in society? What the devotee was thinking about himself a while ago, now the devotee develops and gives those thoughts for the other people in society. He thinks that the Supreme Soul has given people in society such beautiful bodies, such a nice mind, and such a nice intellect. He has given them powers like this, and what are people doing with this? People are spending so much of their lives in waste. There is a famous rhyme that Solomon Grundy, born on Monday, christened on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, had children on Thursday, married his children on Friday, become infirm on Saturday, and died on Sunday, and that was the end of Solomon Grundy. Have I done anything apart from this? Compassion arises in the devotee, and that is why he runs towards people. The person walking in, there's a seat reserved at the front for them. He makes efforts in order to make a transformation in people's lives. He tells them, do not waste and ruin your lives in this way. This is the feeling of compassion. This is enlightened compassion. The devotee has this compassion. Srimad Adi Shankaracharya Ji writes in his commentary that the compassion of a devotee is to give fearlessness to all creatures. Sarva Bhuta Abhaya Pradaha. This is the compassion of the devotee. He creates fearlessness to all creatures. We have many different types of fears. If I were to say the three main types of fears, then firstly we have fears of the material world. These can be called the fears of everyday life. The devotee removes the fear of the material world from his own life, and at the same time he removes the fears of the material world from society. Sansara Bhaya Nashanam. We have a fear of the material world. The devotee first himself becomes liberated from the fears of the material world, and then begins liberating others from the fears of the material world. He tells them to leave the fears of the material world. There are so many types of fears of the material world, and they all have their characteristics. The first fear of society is a fear of survival. Another is a fear of wealth. Another is a fear of status. When all of this is not there, then one gets fear, and even after they come, one gets fear. If one does not have wealth, then one has fear, and if one does not have status, then one feels as if something is missing. But when wealth and status come, then it's not as if the person becomes fearless. In fact, his fears increase. Now the fear is that will all of this last or not? He has a lot of fear in all of this. Wealth has come, status has come, and every fifth person in society talks about me, but will all of this last or not? This is a fear. A devotee makes all of these fears go away. Another is a fear of public opinion. This is a very big fear. The person keeps thinking that what will all of these people say about me? A devotee lets go of all of this. This verse will come later in this chapter. Dulya Nindar Stutir Moni. He who holds equal blame and praise is dear to me. We'll go through this later in this chapter. The devotee thinks that I have to live in this material world with the praises and blame of people, and therefore I should not fear these things. Therefore, first of all, he makes material and everyday fears go away. Secondly, he makes mental fears go away. There are many fears that are imaginary and illusionary. In reality, there is no such thing as fear, but we have given rise to all of these fears. We say, what if this happens and what if that happens? A devotee, first of all in his life and then in society, says that if the mind can create all of these fears, then you should offer that mind to the refuge of the Supreme Soul. If you do this, then there will be no such thing as fear left. And thirdly, there are spiritual fears. Human beings have spiritual fears. In fact, thinkers say that spirituality begins with fears, such as the fear of death or the fear of what will happen after death. These are the reasons for which the person begins on the path of spirituality. Then the more that he advances further, then all his fears begin releasing and he gets bliss. He begins getting bliss. At the beginning, there is fear. The devotee releases these fears from people. On many occasions, the person on the path of spirituality also has fears that I'm walking on a path of spirituality, but will I be successful or not? In the 6th chapter, Arjun asked the question that, Lord, you spoke about the yoga of meditation, and if a human being begins the yoga of meditation, but their body falls before they can complete it, and before they can become successful, then what happens? This is a spiritual fear. We may have this question that if in life we're practicing bhakti devotion at the age of 50, and when we begin studying the Gita, but at the age of 82 the wicket goes down, and in these 32 years we do not achieve success, would then the efforts we put for these 32 years go to waste? No. Shri Krishna answers this question in the 6th chapter of the Gita by saying that Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashya Vijayate Athava Yoginam Eva Kule Bhavati Dhimata. The man who has fallen away from yoga is again born in a house of such who are pure and prosperous. Lord, he may be born in the family of yogins who are endowed with wisdom in this. Shri Krishna also said in the 6th chapter of the Gita that Nahi kalyana krutkashit durgam tata gachati. Never does one who does good, dear friend, tread the path of woe. One who does good never treads the path of woe, dear friend. Therefore, Shri Krishna told Arjuna that nothing ever goes to waste. But one must make that fear go far away. Therefore, these fears have gone far away in a devotee's life, and a devotee makes these fears go away from others' lives. And that is why Srimad Adi Shankaracharya says that this is the greatest of all compassions, to give fearlessness to all creatures. Sarva Bhuta Abhaya Pradada. Therefore, a true devotee is one staying with whom our fears go away. This is a true devotee. If we get fear while staying with someone, then this is not a devotee but a rakshas, a demon. A devotee is someone staying with whom one's fears go away. This is a devotee. A devotee removes the fears of all creatures. The fourth quality that is described by Shri Krishna in this verse is being free from self-sense. A devotee never has this feeling that mine, mine, mine. You always see this one quality in devotees. They keep letting go. You see this. This is being free from self-sense. And because one is free from self-sense, one also becomes free from egotism, which is the next quality. We have seen that our ego lasts because of this mine, mine, and mine. Therefore, if one is free from this self-sense, then being free from egotism comes by itself. A person with egotism only keeps one thing in the mind, that I am the center of this world and the center of this life. I am the center of this universe. This whole universe is for me. This is an egotistic person, and they are in each and every place. Even in a family, there is a person who thinks that the whole family is for me. Nobody listens to me. Nobody does this. Nobody does that. This is an egotistic person. On the other hand, a devotee thinks that I am not the center of the universe. I am a servant of the world. This is the feeling of being free from egotism. Egotism is the equivalent of a rock. When egotism itself drowns, then it also drowns everything that is tied with it. A devotee is free from egotism. Shri Krishna also says that in this verse, that one should be even-minded in pain and pleasure. One should consider pain and pleasures to be equal. One who does this is a devotee. How can you consider pains and pleasures to be equal? Guruji was once asked a very nice question at a discourse that, respected Sri Bhupendrabhai, dear sir, while sitting daily alone, this is about when Guruji spoke about sitting alone for 5 to 10 minutes, the thought flow does not cease and the chattering goes on. Can this be stopped, and if so, how? Please enlighten me. When we are sitting alone and thoughts constantly keep coming in our minds, then how can we make these thoughts go away? If a devotee keeps advancing in the qualities we've described so far, then this can happen, but this thing is very important, being even-minded in pain and pleasure. There is only one reason for internal incessant chattering. It is not being even-minded in pain and pleasure. We have our own pleasures and our own pains. And these pleasures and pains are not pleasures and pains of objects, but also emotional pleasures and pains. And because of these, the mind becomes so wavering and so fickle that it cannot remain steady even for one moment. The moment when one considers pleasures and pains to be in the same, then at that moment the mind becomes calm. This is because all activities, not just of the mind but also the body, both of these are there to reduce our pains and to increase our pleasures. Yagnavalkyaji talks about this very thing in Upanishads, that all the activities of human beings are for this purpose. They wish to increase the amounts of pleasures and to decrease the amounts of pains. And why do they need to increase and reduce these things? The reason for this is that we do not consider pain and pleasure to be the same. If we consider them to be the same, then these things will automatically become steady. How can pains and pleasures look equal to us? How can we be even-minded in pain and pleasure? I'll tell you about a small event and we'll do an analysis of it. There are two friends who were standing in the ticket queue of a cinema hall. They were talking, and one friend said, "Today it's my birthday, and so I will buy the ticket. I will show you a film today on behalf of me." While they were standing in the queue, they kept moving ahead, and when they reached the window to buy a ticket, then one friend went to get his wallet out of his pocket. Then he realized that his pocket was empty and that there was no wallet inside it. The wallet had been stolen. He became absolutely worried, thinking, "Where is my wallet? Where is my wallet gone?" He became extremely worried. The other friend said, "Wait a minute, our number's come, and we've been waiting in this line for 1 hour. The people behind them are saying, hurry up, hurry up. Therefore, the second friend pulled out the money from his pocket, bought the tickets, and said, let us go. The first friend began taking the wallet, and the second friend said, what can we do? The first friend began saying that all of these people are thieves, and these times are very bad because there are so many useless people in the world. He was so angry, and he was saying that whatever came into his mind. They saw the film, and when the film finished, then they came outside, and when they were separating, the second friend pulled out the wallet to the first friend and told him, here. The first friend said, oh, did you play this prank? And do you do this as a joke? The first friend said, no, I've not done this as a joke, but your wallet was not in the right place. You should look after your wallet. It is right that I was here, I paid attention to it, and I took it. But what if someone else had taken it? You should look after it properly. I just did this to make you alert, and so that it will teach you a lesson. The whole mood of the first friend changed. Think about this event. When the first friend thought that his wallet had gone, then he got so much pain and began swearing so much that the whole world has gone bad. It's this, it's that, all of these people are bad and useless. This is because at that time, the person who took it was someone else. And that is why all of this happened. But the moment when he realized that the other person who took it was his friend, then he saw it as a joke and he asked, why did you play this prank as a joke on me? Even in life, this happens to us. We're either sitting here having held on to pleasures or having held on to the feelings and emotions of pleasures. While we have that, then it feels good, but when we do not get it, then we get sorrows. And at that time, we swear to the world. The reason for this is that we feel that the person who took it was different. We feel that it was someone else that snatches it away and who takes it away. But the moment we realize that the person who took it is not somebody different, the person who gave it is also the person who took it, and both the giver and taker are the same person, then no complaints remain. This is what is in the mind of a devotee. The devotee thinks that the person who gives me pleasures in life is God, and the person who gives me what feels like pains is also God. And why does God give me pains? The reason for this is to make me alert that many times during moments of pleasures I get carried away and I do not even know about it. That is why the Supreme Soul takes the wallet away and keeps it for a while. A time goes when I have to struggle a lot because God has put the wallet to the side for a while, and then after 10 or so years he gives the wallet back, and I ask God why he played this joke. And God then tells me that I did not remember him when things were going well 10 years ago, that I should be alert and that I should understand what I've learnt in the last 10 years. I should understand why I fall in life and that I should behave in a proper way, and if I do, then my wallet will stay with me. What I mean to say is that the giver and taker of pleasures is the same one person. And not only is it one person, but it is my friend, and he is giving and taking them for my good. When we realize this, then we get a lot of bliss, because when we go to put our hands in our wallets to say that we're buying tickets for our birthdays, the other person says, keep it and enjoy yourself. It is your birthday party on behalf of me. The wallet is just one thing, and one got so many difficulties because the wallet was not just there for 3 hours, but from the same event, one gets bliss, and only one got bliss. Not only did one get bliss, but their feeling of dearness arose towards a friend, because one thinks that he is such a nice friend. He hid my wallet, bought a ticket himself, and did this for me. In life, look at pains and pleasures from this perspective. The person who takes the wallet is God and nobody else. And that God is my friend. One should look at it from this perspective. The devotee looks at it from this perspective, and that is why the devotee remains even-minded in pleasure and pain. The last characteristic described by Sri Krishna in this verse is forgiving. A devotee is forgiving. The reason why the devotee is forgiving is because he has no ill will towards any being. Why has the other person committed a fault? The other person has committed a fault because I did not go to him. That is why he made a mistake. And forgiveness can only be forgiveness of the strong and forgiveness of the powerful. Earlier, I gave the question that somebody asked me to explain bhakti devotion very slowly, and that's what I've been doing. 7 qualities have been described by Sri Krishna in the 13th verse. No ill will towards any being, friendliness, compassion, free from self-sense, free from egotism, even-minded in pain and pleasure, and forgiving. The description goes further, and in the 14th verse, the Lord describes 5 other qualities.